It's Hump Day. What a fine, fine show for the Boiler Room to follow here on UCY.TV. Try this at home with Dana Martin. She answered every one of my questions that I posed to her in the room, saliently, and with conviction, you know. A lot of people throw stuff out there and just talk about it, and you can tell that they don't really believe what they're saying. This woman believes everything that she's saying. And she has proof. Her children. What she does works. Very cool show. Very cool show. I'm listening every week now. Thanks, Dana. Like I said just a minute ago, this is Boiler Room Radio. You are listening to UCY.TV, and we are live on Hump Day night here on my little piece of mountain. It was beautiful today. Lower 60s. Got the boat in the water. Didn't take Lance a video, so he's mad at me. Sorry, Lance. Had my hands full. It was fun. Got her all gassed up and running around the lake for a little while, and stuck her back in the dock and tied it up. And so now it's sitting in the water ready to go whenever I am. And I checked my advanced scheduled forecast, that they're predicting that the chemtrails and geoengineering assholes are going to let us have. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm only seeing like 1 day down into the upper 30s, and then the rest of it's all sunshine and 50s. So, yeah, I'm loving it. Spring's coming, folks. Hold in, hold on. I know you guys up in the Northeast just got pounded with a shitload of snow yesterday and probably still today. There's some severe weather headed to the Southeast, so you guys better buckle up. That's probably what we're going to do Friday's show on, prepping for tornado season, because it is on us.
Well, we have hurricanes here, so.
Yeah. Well, I've been through tornadoes. Never been through a hurricane. Been through the outer bands of hurricanes, because some of them come all the way up into the Midwest and whatever. We get drenched with, rain and shit up in Illinois, but never been through those massive, sustained 90, 100 plus mile an hour winds or nothing like that. Tornadoes were pretty frightening, though. Mm-hmm. Drove through one, actually. Small one. But I drove through it.
Some of the best surfing you'll ever do is in advance of a hurricane.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Before it gets there.
Yeah, those great big curlers coming in. They're all in like stacks of 3, right? They come in sets.
Yeah, I did it in 89 for,
you used to surf, dude?
No, boogie board. We did bodyboard, boogie boarding.
Right on.
Right there at Nags Head down in North Carolina at the Outer Banks. And they were 20, 25 feet waves like I've never seen before. And that hurricane hit Florida, and the waves were that high here, or North Carolina.
Damn. Yeah, Nags Head's pretty cool. Been out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome.
So let's jump into the Smoke'em's Market Minute and let us have a feel of what's going on Wall Street. How's the raping going? Have they changed condoms yet?
Yeah, and just like Scott at Hyper Report, I'm on a backup mic right now, so 30 seconds before we went on air, found out that one didn't work.
You flipped the switch somewhere or something. Got plugged into the wrong hole. I heard you talking to me. You just couldn't hear me. So.
Okay, I got you.
And I typed that into the chat box. I was letting you know I can hear you.
Okay, I got you.
All right. Anyway, Continue. You sound fine.
Yeah, markets were all red today. We even got an intraday pricing for the worse for interest rates.
Kind of strange, man, because the markets went down and so did gold. Gold dropped.
Yeah, how many times does every single, market indicator actually drop? Not too often. So that's a
precursor.
That's an interesting one. Interestingly enough, consumer debt has increased the fastest since 2007, which I believe a lot of it's got to do with student loans, because we've enslaved a whole generation just in student loans in the last 12 years, just about. But that the debt increases, it means that everybody's, using those credit cards a whole lot more, maybe to pay utilities or stuff like that. So, you know what happened at 2007, 2008 when the debt increased. So it got worse before it fell off the cliff, if you remember that.
Zip. Yeah. And all the charts that they're showing look just that way.
Well, it's interesting.
Just like 2008 and 1933 or whatever.
29. It's interesting that you said that, because the chart right now, if you look at the Dow Jones 28-29 chart compared to our chart right now, it's got very similar. It looks like, one of those cardiographs for a heartbeat. And
sorry.
It never goes flatline, I see, but it goes pretty low.
It will when it hits zero.
If you look at the parallels, where you've had the upward movement, then the downward drop, then a little upward movement, we are on the very last upward movement before the actual total real crash happened. And it looks like it happened over 30 days, where it dropped 4,000 points.
Ooh, yikes. Yeah.
Which, you were...
Would that be a correction? Yeah, that would be a correction.
Hell yeah, I think 20%, anything 20%, and that's what all the economist says, is 20% would be a...
And that's the only reason I asked you that was because that's what Manarino said. He said all this little fluctuating in the last couple of weeks, everybody said it was a correction. It wasn't a correction. That's not a correction. So then I typed to you, what do you consider to be a correction? So go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's been 20. Oh, no, that's fine. Always jump in. The Soros thing is even making mainstream media. I logged on to AOL, and it was one of the top stories right there, on AOL. George Soros bet
AOL, America's online legion. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right. But, it's even on there that he's betting, and this is what the headlines are, betting that the stock market will fail. He's wagered $1.3 billion, like we've talked about before, that the S&P 500 stock index would fall. In case you're thinking of ignoring him because of politics or because hedge fund managers are pretty bad at predicting the future sometimes, keep in mind that his fund was the best performing fund last year.
Because he has a shitload of manipulation.
Well, yeah, I was going to say he doesn't even have insider knowledge. He is the knowledge.
He is inside.
He is the driver. Yeah, he is the inside. So when people say inside knowledge, they know it from him. So, but most terrifyingly, ordinary investors are starting to tiptoe back into the market because it had that 5% drop, and now it's kind of on an upward thing. So it's always worrisome when, people start tiptoeing back into the market.
Just got to throw this out there. Everything was down except oil. Oil was up. It's at $110 a barrel. And Bitcoin is only at 261.
261?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it was up near 1,000 at one time.
Yeah. It was almost touching gold at one time. It was over 1,100. So just so y'all know, that's a freaking scam. Bitcoin is a freaking scam. It's tied to the London bankers. Do your research. Find out for yourselves. Anyway, go ahead.
The LIBOR. If they would have said that the all those bankers that got suicided, had bought into Bitcoin at 1,000, and they committed suicide because of that, I could believe that much better than the official story that they're putting out.
The official story is that they all just all of a sudden had a whim that they didn't want life anymore and dove off buildings and shot themselves with nail guns.
Yeah.
I don't buy that for a minute.
Huge story. You know, we probably won't delve too much into it tonight, even though another one did get killed since the last time we've had a show.
Yeah, in China, everybody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, another one
right
jumped
off the top of the building. Yeah. 33 floors up, and he was 33 years old. Figure that one in.
They probably were out of nail guns at Home Depot.
Yeah. I saw somebody comment in the room just a little bit ago during Dana's show, what were those other two guys doing on the roof? And I said they were there to make sure he dove. But anyway, go ahead. Finish up.
Yeah. The feds, you know, it's interesting that the feds, how they're lying. I'm going to read this thing, and you can get your soundboard ready for the sound effects when you hear some of these statements.
Right on.
In a speech to the students at Mercer University, Dennis Lockhart, president of Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank, said he was comfortable with the Fed's most recent official forecast that the first increase in short-term rates will happen in the second half of 15.
Of 15. So he's giving everybody a year and a half advance warning.
Yeah.
We're going to raise the rates in a couple of years, folks. Hang on.
Well,
anyway.
Listen to all the contradicting statements in the thing here that I'm reading. In a separate interview on CNBC, San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank President John Williams said Fed officials would continue to tweak the guidance. While he would not predict how the Fed might change its guidance, he said his own view is that a verbal description would be better than a hard number. It's time to move away from numerical markers.
Wah, wah.
Lockhart noted that the Fed's latest policy included a phrase that the highly accommodative stance of monetary policy will remain appropriate for a considerable time after the asset purchase program ends.
Yeah, we haven't finished lining our pockets yet, so stand by.
And it'll be interesting because they've said that they're, you know, the 10 billion that they keep reducing down for the quantitative easing that they're backing off of.
Right.
They said they're going to back off of 10 billion every single Fed meeting, which would put the program to be terminated by the end of this year. But again, they said we're going to be highly accommodative. So
that means next month Yellen's going to say, "Oh, back up to 85 bill."
Just the hypocrisy that comes out of these people is just baffling, to say the least.
And you get they believe their own bullshit now. They're all in, they're all in. And the ones that aren't all in die in freaky car accidents or jump off buildings or shoot themselves with nail guns.
They're all in for the public, I'm sure, but they know the truth. They're prepared. They have their underground bunker tickets and stuff. So, and lastly, I'll just take a quick hit here on the cannabis stocks. Quick hit.
And the Fed is easing restrictions on banks dealing with
allowing them to take money.
Cannabis vendors,
dealing with cash. But half of them were up and half of them were down. So, they're taking hits. Get it.
Kind of weird, huh?
Yep. And in case you're not following the Olympics at all, we have the most medals, followed by Russia, Netherlands tied, and then Norway. So, go USA.
Woohoo! That must have just happened recently because when I saw it at 4:00, I think Romania was still in the front. But I might be wrong.
It would have been
with the most
Netherlands
golds,
or Russia. Oh, no, most golds Norway has. They have 9.
Oh, okay.
Just overall medals, it's 23 for the United States. So go USA.
Right on. Russia's kicking ass too.
Their
skaters
22.
Their skaters are kicking ass, and some of their cross country skiers, and I think some snowboarders, and so. Oh yeah,
Ukraine snuck one in there. They got a bronze. They got 1 medal. So
Russia's out of the hockey though.
I heard that. I heard they got beat. So what? It's USA and Canada or something?
No, well, they're going into the semifinals now. So I don't know who's in the finals yet, but I think USA's still in it.
Yeah, they were saying USA Canada is what they think it'll end up being, which
we'll see.
You know, when they allowed pro players, I think we talked about it, when they allowed pro players into the Olympics, that was just, it ruined the spirit of the Olympics.
Yep.
In my mind. So that is Smoke'em's Market Minute wrapped up.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Lance Musser. You may take a break and try to fix your sheet.
I'm going to while we listen to Scott.
Right on. I'll throw him on here. He's got 2 minutes and 14 seconds to spit it out.
Hello, this is Scott and it's a Hype Report. Here are the quotes for various items. First, jumping bankers. Yet another banker has committed suicide, or is that premature retirement? This time, a JP Morgan Forex trader who was in his 30s jumped off a 30-story building. Needless to say, he was likely not jumping for joy. What a waste. Would it have hurt to take a lawyer with him? Anyway, over the past few weeks, at least 7 bankers have died under mysterious circumstances. Of course, when the weather gets warmer, we may hear of bankers being the subject of shark attacks. Next, disastrous direction. According to John Embry, through zero interest rates and program algorithms, a false illusion has been created with the constant interference in all markets, primarily by the Fed. With that said, market forces will prevail over the distorted reality at some point in the not-too-distant future. He goes on to say that those who are hanging in traditional paper assets are going to take a terrible beating. Next, troops using food stamps. The U.S. economy is doing so well that food stamp use at military grocery stores has gone from $31.1 million in 2008 to $103.6 million in fiscal 2013. The fact that military personnel are in this position in the first place is a national shame. Next, fire Mitch McConnell. In allowing a vote to increase the debt limit, Mitch McConnell said it is his job to protect the country. This represents Obama's opposition in the Senate. McConnell needs the pink slip. Next, executive overreach resolution. 100 GOP representatives have filed a resolution to restrict Obama's executive overreach from Obama-Rec to the welfare work requirement. So, is Obama shaking in his mom jeans? No, Obama's just hitting a golf ball on billionaire Larry Ellison's private golf course. Next, no job loss? Despite the 2 million jobs lost due to Obama-Rec, Kathleen Sebelius actually stated that there is absolutely no evidence of job losses due to Obama-Rec. Apparently, this brain-dead sea hag really needs to check herself into a mental hospital. Next, cause of financial crisis? Okay, just when you thought you heard it all. According to a Cambridge University neuroscientist and former Wall Street trader John Coates, the weather or bad fiscal policies did not cause the financial crisis. Nope, it was a stress hormone where traders have a reduced appetite for risk. Wow, what medication are these people on? Finally, please prepare now for the escalating economic and social unrest. Good day.
Are you all fixed, brother?
I'm sticking with this one.
Oh, right on. Something still wrong with it?
No, I just couldn't get it working. I didn't want to make a whole bunch of noise, so.
Oh, cool. All right. Is Manarino worth listening to?
Did not listen to him.
Did not listen to him today.
But that all of the markets took a beating, his first 3 minutes would at least be salient.
Okay, we'll jump over there and see what he's got to say. Because I did not listen to him today.
I love Scott's early retirement statement on the bankers. That's just some funny crap right there.
Yep. I like the warm weather shark attack one, too. I can't wait to see that. Oh, Greg's in a blue shirt today. It must be a good day. Whoops.
Greg Manarino, how are you today? It is Wednesday, February 19th, 2014. All right, people, so what is going on here? Yet again, another bad economic shot across the bow of this market. We got housing starts way below estimates. I mean, this is 6 rounds of bad economic news in just the past week, including last week, obviously. So I think, and I went over this yesterday, and I've been going over this since last week, this market is ripe to fall here. Yesterday specifically, I had done a market alert video stating I believe that if you're long this market, you need to consider how to protect those positions or maybe even go short like I am, okay? This is a great opportunity here for all of us. Now, today, all of the major indices finished down. The Dow Jones Industrial Average just about 90 points, but I want you to watch the transports here. The transports fell 1.25%. It's leading this market down. there's a lot of pressure building here, people. Let's go over some of that just real quick. We got social unrest all over the globe. We heard today from the International Monetary Fund stating that the global outlook for the economy here is not good. Despite the talking heads we're hearing from on the financial channels saying that everything is just looking bright. I want you to consider a couple other things that are going on here.
No doubt.
Consumer debt is at near pre-last bubble levels. So what does that mean? Well, again, this is kind of a double-edged sword, but unlike the federal government, you can't print money out of cash. You have to pay these debts. Understand that? This is a mechanism of enslavement, people. This whole thing really is coming down to that. By taking on more and more debt here, you become a slave to servicing that debt. I've gone over this. You need to avoid this like the plague, especially in this environment, you people. But this is what they're counting on. They want you a debt slave. Do not be a debt slave, okay? I've gone over this so many times, people. You cannot borrow your way into prosperity. You just can't do this. So you need to get away from that mentality, period. It's the most surefire way to stay broke for the rest of your life. And that's your choice right now. And I am out here every day, business days at least, trying to help you in every way I possibly can for free. I don't ask for anything. And, you can take what I'm saying, ignore it all, or you can capitalize on it. And that's really what I want you to do here. All right, people. So again, this goes back to what I've been saying here. I'm not liking what I am seeing with regard to pressure, which continues to build on these markets here. We could be in for a significant sell-off here, and I've been going over this. I've been betting against this market. I told you all yesterday. I was adding to my positions. You can see on traderschoice.net. There's a link right down here. I had a pretty good day today, especially with my call on VXX.
I told you, blue shirt.
To capitalize on this, really. Even if you're not trading here, pay attention to these things. It will give you an idea of what you can expect as you move forward here. And again, this goes back to what I've said since day one, and I'm going to beat this like a dead horse because I frankly do not care. You need to become your own central bank, people. Bet against the global debt problem. It's insurmountable. They won't stop it. And again, they're going to try to continue to borrow into oblivion. That's all they can do. And you need to be taking the short end of that trade. It's that simple. So when any imbecile out there asks you why you're holding gold and silver or precious metals or hard assets, you tell them.
We're going to get back out of that now.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's basically, he's talking to the homies on Wall Street. But like we've been telling you all along, get out of the market. They cannot sustain what they're doing. Get out. Get your 401k money and get out of it. Get in something that's tangible. Buy yourself some ground. Grow some vegetables. Expand your property base. Buy some gold and silver. Make yourself secure.
Yeah, if there's a true market crash like everybody's talking about, like in 1929 where, people were lined up for soup kitchens and stuff like that, you could definitely see some pandemonium going because, like we've said before, you shut the government teat off, there's going to be some pandemonium, and it could get ugly.
Yep, that's for sure. Okay. That's it for the Market Watch. We're almost a half hour into the show, and I'm going to tell everybody now that the phones are wide open because we're getting ready to go off down a stinky, stinky rabbit hole. 718-717-8296. We are going to talk about police brutality for the rest of the show because this shit has got to stop. These cops are totally out of control all over this country. It's not just happening in big cities. It's not just happening in good old boy areas. It's happening everywhere. These roided out freak cops think that you owe them something. that you owe them submission. And if you don't submit, then they will beat you to death, or they'll shoot you to death, or they'll taser you in front of your kids and humiliate you, or they'll take you to a hospital and have you go through multiple colonoscopies for over 10 hours to find nothing on you, thinking that you are carrying drugs in your rectum. Or they'll strip search you on the side of the highway. I can go on and on and on. I'll bet I've seen over a dozen stories since the weekend started. Saturday. Why aren't these getting airtime? Why aren't these stories on the mainstream media when it's happening on a daily basis? School shootings show up all over. I'll bet you tomorrow, if a kid walked into a high school with a wrist rocket, it would be on Fox News in 30 minutes. But a group of cops can beat a father to death in front of his daughter and his wife for no reason whatsoever. And you barely see a story about it except in the local paper and on social media. Very few of these stories that we're going to talk about tonight have happy endings. And very few of these cops ever face charges. Some of them do, and I'm going to throw some of those stories in because I think we need a little, taste of justice before the end of the show. But I know you guys have heard this one, but this is the one we're going to start with. Cops execute an 80-year-old man in his bed during a botched raid. A botched raid. This is out of Los Angeles, California. Eugene Mallory was an 80-year-old retired engineer who was respected and loved by his community. He often helped his neighbors and struck up conversations to offer them the wisdom of his life experiences. All that came to an end early one morning as numerous officers bashed in his front door and raided his home. Moments later, Eugene was found riddled with bullet wounds in his bed. The kind 80-year-old man posed no threat to officers whatsoever, but was executed because cops thought they smelled meth coming from his house. Meth. Making matters worse, police reports then claimed that they told Eugene to drop the gun before killing him, but the recording of the incident reveals that that was a lie. Eugene actually did not charge officers with a weapon at all. He was shot and killed as he laid in his own bed, according to reports. After opening fire on Eugene, a cop can then be heard saying, "Drop the gun," as if he knew he would need to cover himself in court. Eugene leaves behind his wife and family, who believe that he was unjustifiably murdered. You think so? This is what America has become. A kind old man dying in a pool of his own blood in his own bed. Shot to death because gangs of cowards like to go on shooting sprees inside our homes, supported by and protected by their nanny state government. Individuals who decide to become cops produce nothing of value for society. I tend to fully agree with that now. I'm going to jump off on a little tangent here for a minute. Some people will tell you that there are good cops out there. Show me one. Show me one. If there's a good cop and he does something good for, a citizen that's paying taxes, then you need to look at that cop and you need to ask him, why isn't he rolling over on all the other shitty cops in his precinct? Because if there are good cops out there and they don't turn on the bad cops that are out there, then they are culpable and they are just as guilty as the men that shot this 80-year-old to death. That's my take on that.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Do you think some of them go in there thinking that they're going to be honest cops and then they get
the blue line,
strong-armed, into the brotherhood?
The blue wall of silence.
Right. So, I would think a lot of them go in there not thinking that they're going to be able to legally beat up people and do the stories that we're getting ready to talk about.
If you join the police force and you are being strong-armed by other people on the force to keep your mouth shut, then you need to quit that job and go find another one.
I'm sure some of them do, because you can't fight it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's just my take on it. That's just my take on it. Now, I'm sure that there are certain police departments that aren't totally heinous, and they don't go around beating up people and shooting innocent people, and there's probably whole departments like that.
Mayberry.
Yeah. But this is just, I just see too many of these stories, people. I just see too many of these stories. And I'm going to throw a generalized blanket over law enforcement tonight, so give me that leeway. Any valuable service that they provide, such as investigating crimes after the fact or directing traffic during accidents, are incidental to the true purpose for which their intentions or for which their institutions exist, and can be provided by independent organizations, which is true, Lance. The institution of contemporary policing exists solely to protect political rulers, whether by generating forced tribute, i.e. tickets or victimless crimes, or by suppressing rebellion with threats and initiatory violence. Hang on just 1 second. Okay. Eugene joins countless other victims in the police state with no-knock raids. Listen to this, folks. No-knock raids increased 4,000% in this country since 1980s. With over 5,000 Americans killed by law enforcement officers since 9/11. Over 5,000 Americans are dead at the hands of cops since 9/11.
That's more than a terrorist killed on 9/11.
Mm-hmm. No-knock raids are up 4,000% since the 1980s.
Are you one of your stories is going to be about the guy that did not get indicted for that no-knock raid where he killed the cop?
No, I didn't see that one on here.
That was just this week or Friday. The grand jury would not indict the guy that killed the cop for a no-knock raid. They wouldn't indict him.
Yeah, it's probably farther down on this page. I just haven't hit it yet.
Okay, good.
That's story number 1. And we're only 4 minutes into this. I've got a whole page of them here. Filmingcops.com is where I'm at. If you guys want to know, I'll drop that link in chat a little later. I think you guys have all seen the one about Manuel Ramos getting thrown out of the restaurant because all the people in there said, hey, that's the cop that beat Kelly Thomas to death. And they refused to serve him after that. And everybody kept booing at him and hissing at him, so he got up and left. That's kind of a good one. Y'all heard about the one where the cop shot the service dog at the 9-year-old's birthday party. We talked about that last week. I'm not going to go into that one. Let's go back up to the top here.
You know where you very rarely see a cop is at a drive-through line at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they find out that there's a cop ordering, they trash the food. So you don't see cops going through drive-thrus very much.
Not anymore. Yep.
Yeah, not anymore.
Here's the top story on this website tonight. Young boy shot to death by cop moments after sitting down to watch a movie in his home. A teenage boy who was about to graduate high school and join the Marine Corps has been executed by a female officer. The incident has left the community horrified, with many accusing the officer of incompetence and being trigger happy. Hang on, let me pull this up. The OpNat I reports that 17-year-old Christopher Raup was shot and killed moments after sitting down to watch a movie in his family's home. Around 7:30 p.m., young Christopher took out his Nintendo Wii controller to put on a movie. As he was sitting down, he suddenly heard knocking at the front door. He asked, "Who is it?" but received no response. At that point, he got up from his chair and opened the door. To his shock, the female cop already had her gun drawn and pointed at him, according to reports. She immediately fired a bullet into the boy's chest and killed him, according to Renee Vance, the boy's aunt. The police actually claim he had a gun. It was actually the boy's small Nintendo Wii controller, says the aunt. The officer gave him no warning to drop the controller before taking his life, the aunt added. The police claimed to be at the house regarding a probation matter. It turns out that it had nothing to do with Christopher. His 13-year-old little sister heard the gunshot and ran over to the door to find her brother bleeding and crying. The little sister held her brother and tried to comfort him as he cried in pain, according to reports. That's when the female cop pointed her gun at the child and said, "Shut up," forcing the girl to go away. Moments later, Christopher bled to death. Both the female officer and the officer who was with her had received paid administrative leave as the investigation proceeds. The boy's family is deeply saddened. They've set up a Facebook page speaking out about the incident. Many of the boy's friends are confused as to how this could possibly happen to a young man with so many plans for his future. Prayers for his younger siblings. May they take pride in knowing what a great brother they had and what a great Marine he was going to be. Another commenter said, "God wrap your arms around this family in their time of grief. So sorry for your loss." One girl recounted the time when Christopher saved her family from a fire, already displaying his heroism as a teenager. "I remember at America's Best Inn, my mom and my sister were at the pool, and so was my dad, and a paper towel blew in my mom's candle, and you helped stop the fire. If it wasn't for Christopher, the room might have caught on fire. I'll never understand why or how this happened. But what I do know is that you were a great friend, and more than that, you were family." That's the end of the article there. They just left it with comments from the family members and friends of the boy. Shot to death for holding a Wii. What's wrong with these cops? Why would she go to the door with her gun drawn for a probation call? Have they become so scared of the public at large, thinking that we're all Al-Qaeda, that they have to approach every citizen with a gun or a taser or a gang of cops? Because I'm telling you right now, I don't ever see any situation where it's 1-on-1, 2-on-1. It's always 5-on-1, 6, 7, 10-on-1. Like a dog pile. Lance?
Yeah, because when it's not, I've seen plenty of videos where if it's not 4 or 5 on one, the innocent victim sometimes does overpower the cop.
Because they're donut eaters. Well, they used to be. Now they're all a bunch of roided up freaks. I mean, you still see the donut eater, but the rest of them look like pit bulls with, badges on their chest. They're all roided up, got big, huge guns on them and tattoos out the wazoo and, just come back from 5 tours in Afghanistan shooting up Haji. All drugged out by the military.
And I think that's what, you do have. You have a lot of veterans of the military, whether they were security police or anything else, that are crossing over into the police department and carrying over a lot of the brutality with it. Because, again, a lot of them are...
Look at Boston. Look at Boston, man. That could have been Fallujah.
Well, that's what I was saying. A lot of them are armed more or armed the same that they were when they were deployed, or even better, in some cases.
I don't understand this, man. I don't understand how we got this far down the hole with nobody saying a damn thing,
It would be interesting to sit in on one of the, remember Hill Street Blues? I grew up on that show. Remember that? And they would always start out the show with the meeting and, always being careful. And that's what they, encourage and preach and talk about. But you've got to wonder what they're like today. Look, watch your back. They're all out to get you. Shoot first, ask questions. It's kind of like the ready, shoot, aim.
Yeah.
And it's just pathetic.
It is. The Dorner incident. I gotta just jump back to this for 1 second. Those 10 cops that shot up that pickup truck with the 2 women in it, they were all given a pass because of the intensity of the situation. They shot each other because there was no gun in the car. There was no gun in the truck. The women didn't have one. But two officers received gunshot wounds to their appendages during that firefight because these dumbasses shot each other in like a circle jerk. Now, I don't know about the rest of you folks, but that scares the shit out of me. If these guys don't even know field of fire or crossfire, that scares the shit out of me. Thank God I don't live in California, because that's where a lot of this shit's happening.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead, man.
No, I mean, one of the possible solutions, which I've heard you mention, was that they needed to go away. And then you would have a situation just like that where it would be out of control. I mean, could you imagine the Kiev thing happening in D.C. with the same steroid, roided up, police force right there? I think it would be a total, if it ever got violent like that, I think it would get real violent on their side.
Oh, absolutely. And they've got the firepower to throw it down. You know what I mean? If what was happening in the Ukraine right now was happening in the United States, there'd be a bunch of dead citizens laying in the streets.
Yes.
And they'd probably get away with it,
Yes.
because they'd call it civil unrest and they'd flag it under the NDAA rule and they'd give everybody a pass.
Yep. Just like the same ones that got off the Capitol Police for shooting that girl, that out of control car girl.
Yeah, that was totally uncalled for, dude. That was totally uncalled for. I don't give a damn.
I've seen a lot less than that
provoke a killing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, like Kelly Thomas sitting on a park bench in downtown, you know, that provoked a killing because he was panhandling money off some people. That provoked a killing. Poor schizophrenic kid crying for his daddy as they beat him to death.
And even if they don't kill him, it's the beating down part. That's just so bad. I mean, once you're submitted and they have you, why the knees? Why the extra, elbows, knees, and
they
stuff?
They want to feel some bones break now, dude. It's not good enough now to where you just turn around and put your hands behind your back and they walk you off looking like a shithead to the car. No, they want to hear some bones breaking. They want to see some blood spilled now. Because they just came out of Afghanistan.
Miss it?
Yeah.
Why?
718-717-8296. Or if you guys are on UCY.TV's friends list, hit me up. I want to hear from some of you guys out there today. I want to hear your opinion on what these stories mean to you. If you're on the other side of the coin, I want to hear your opinion too. You don't have to agree with me. If you agree to disagree, then let's hash that out. Tell me why you think your tax money should go to these jackboots. I almost cussed. I almost dropped an F-bomb.
Sometimes it's warranted.
I'm going to try to refrain from it tonight, though. And if I can make it through this show without dropping one, I don't think I've dropped one yet, actually. If I can make it through this show without dropping an F-bomb, I'm doing pretty good because I'm pretty passionate about this. We're getting ready to do the story that's made me decide to devote this entire show, or almost this entire show, to these jackboots. 718-717-8296 or UCY.TV. The phones are wide open. And if you're not getting through, because we've had some hinky stuff going on with the phones over the last couple of days, thanks NSA, then let me know in the chat room if it's not working, if it's not dialing through. But anyway, this is the story that made me decide to dedicate this show to police brutality. This is out of Oklahoma, and I know you've heard. If you've been on Facebook, if you've been on Twitter, if you've listened to UCY, because I think they covered it earlier. Not today, maybe, but... A daughter never expected what would happen to her father as he took her and her mother out for Valentine's Day. Luis Rodriguez was at a movie theater with his wife and daughter. His wife, Nair, and his daughter, Lunahi. I think that's your name. I'm sorry, baby, if I mispronounced it. Got in an argument during the movie, the wife and the daughter. Nair ended up walking out of the theater to cool off. When Luis ran outside to stop her, cops saw him and asked for his ID. Police claim that when they asked for Luis's ID, he attempted to fight them, which escalated into a full-blown physical confrontation. But the daughter and the wife say that the police are lying. They say that Luis was simply trying to get around the officers to keep Nair from driving away in anger. Police are trained to deceive the public for a living. From a rational point of view, the claims of the police cannot be trusted. No kidding. I think I like this site. Eventually, 5 police officers began beating Luis, pounding his face over and over again, according to the daughter. They jumped on him like he was some kind of killer or drug dealer and beat him up, she said. He never even fought the officers. They beat him on the head, and that's how he lost his breath. When they flipped him over, you could see the blood on his face. He was disfigured. You couldn't even recognize him. She said that she captured the incident on her cell phone. This is Nair, his wife. She captured the incident on her cell phone camera, but the police took it away. It's not yet known as to whether or not they destroyed the footage. Before paramedics had a chance to treat Luis, he had already died from the beating, according to reports. His wife said, I saw him. His body was motionless when they carried him out on the stretcher. I knew that he was already dead. The spokeswoman for the Moore Police Department confirmed that the daughter's cell phone was taken away from her as evidence. Oh, I guess it was the daughter that filmed it. Jesus, man, she filmed her own dad's death. Can you imagine how that's going to affect her for the rest of her life? Congratulations, Moore, Oklahoma PD. I hope you sons of bitches don't sleep for a week with nightmares. And I hope that you guys lose your badges, man. Wow. I can't believe these people, man. I can't believe that we pay these people with our tax money.
They're removing dangerous threats to society is what they
threats
must
to
believe.
The state. Yeah. Threats to the state. 3 officers involved in the incident have been placed on administrative leave, still receiving full pay from the taxpayers while the department investigates itself. Luis leaves behind his daughter, Lenahi, I hope that's how your name is pronounced, darling, and his wife, Nair, who are deeply heartbroken and plan to fight back with legal action. That's very, very good. They do have a clip for this one if you guys want to hear it. Let's see. Yeah, it's only a couple minutes long. We'll go ahead and drop this.
We're glad you're with us tonight. A shocking death has a family outraged and police in Moore staying silent. The family says the man was beaten by Moore police officers outside the Warren Theater just after midnight and died. News 9's Chris McKinnon has reaction from the victim's family tonight.
The Rodriguez family says they were here in the parking lot of the Warren Theater just after midnight when police approached Mr. Rodriguez and began to beat him. His wife says she caught the whole thing on her cell phone camera.
Seeing his death right in front of my face. That's my dad. My dad. That's all I could say.
Lunay Rodriguez says police beat her father, Luis Rodriguez, to death right in front of her after she got into a fight with her mother at the movies.
So why didn't take to me when I told him I hit her? And he was just trying to reach me. Why didn't he arrest me?
Nair Rodriguez says her husband was trying to calm her down when police confronted him and asked for his ID.
He wasn't involved. And the camera of Warren should be recording that. At no time. He was trying to calm me down because I was the one furious with my daughter.
Nair says she recorded the beating, but says police took the phone at the scene.
5 guys got on top of him, beating him ruthlessly on the head, just pow, 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 even with knees.
More police declined to comment on camera Saturday, but did confirm they were investigating the incident.
When they flipped him over, you could see all the blood on his face. He was disfigured. You couldn't recognize him.
The Rodriguez family says they just want justice. More police tells us 3 of their officers are on paid administrative leave. Reporting in Moore, Chris McKinnon, News 9.
Chris, thank you. The family is planning to hire an attorney. They say they still have not been able to see Luis's body.
Oh, not letting them see his body. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Like the school shooting incidences where the parents can't see the kids after it's all over with. They just, I don't know, not allowed to see your dead folks anymore. I'm not sure they'd want to see him after these guys beat his face off of him, you know? I can't, I mean, I'm having a hard time coming up with words for this, you know? I mean, I can't say it over and over and over again. Why are we paying these people to beat us to death? To beat innocent people to death? To shoot dogs, family pets, simply because the thing barked at them or walked up to them? You know, that's what dogs do usually when you come on their property. They walk up to you to see who you are.
And he tried to kick him.
I'm not feeling this, man. I'm really not feeling this tonight. This has got to stop. These people have got to stop. You know, yeah, it's great to protest against the government doing stuff and how they're bombing over in Syria and stuff. That's all really important too. But this is happening in our backyards, folks. This is every bit as bad as Fukushima radiation. This is every bit as bad as Hanford. This is every bit as bad as, name 100 other things that are going on around this country. This stuff has got to stop. Everybody should be going to their town hall meetings. If one of these incidents has happened inside your limits, your city limits, your town limits, your county limits, you need to go there and you need to question the people in authority about why it happened in the first place. No innocents should ever die. Not from a cop. Not from somebody that gets their salary from our taxes, that is paid to serve and protect. No dog, no family pet should ever be killed by a cop. The only time a dog or any animal should ever be fired on by a cop is if that dog is latched onto his body somewhere. They carry mace.
Yeah, wasn't that a lab that got shot in that most recent video?
It was a service dog, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I mean, how many of that breed of dog, okay, it may bite you, but how many of them are going to kill?
You know why? None. They're not trained to do that. They're not trained to be aggressive at all, period. That dog was barking at that cop, okay? This is the reason that dog was barking at that cop, because that cop was a piece of shit human, and the dog knew it. I trust my dog before I trust any human being walking the face of the planet. If my dog tells me you're no good, you're no good. Dogs know. They're more sensitive to things like that. On to the next one. I got a big stack of these, folks. This website is full of them. Actually, you know what? We're at the bottom of the hour. To take off into the next hour, I'm going to give us a good one. Here's a good one. The headline reads, "Cop sentenced to death for fatally shooting pregnant mother and her unborn child." Let's get a grip on this one. It's actually happening. An officer is being sentenced to death for shooting a pregnant woman and her unborn child to death and injuring her husband. The husband and wife were enjoying their dinner at a restaurant they owned when a cop came in, began harassing them, and eventually opened fire on them. In addition to being sentenced to death, the cop was ordered to pay the equivalent of $12,000 in compensation to the victim's family. $12,000. That money is coming from the cop's own pocket, not the taxpayers. That's good. The husband suffered injuries to his right shoulder. His unborn child died with the mother. On February 13th, this was the day before they beat the innocent guy to death in Oklahoma. Imagine that. On February 13th, the People's Court, that's when he got sentenced, okay. People's Court made the decision to sentence the cop to death for murdering the woman and her baby. Does it seem unreal to you that the cop is being punished? If so, it's probably because you lived in the United States. You know that in the United States, cops are almost never punished. You know they're found not guilty even when they're caught on video beating innocent Americans to death. You know they get away with it even when they're caught on video tasing handcuffed girls to death. You know that in the United States, when victims are compensated with the money for crimes committed by cops, it's stolen from your paycheck, the taxpayer, not the cops individually. So why would a killer cop be put to death? Because we're talking about China, not the United States. The officer is Hu Ping. He killed the woman in South China's Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region. He's paying 73,324 yuan to the victim's family before he is extinguished in accordance with the decision of Chinese citizens. Wow, they even let the citizens deal it. If a cop did this in America, do you think he'd be punished for it? Nope. Even if he were punished, do you think he'd be put to death? Nope. Make no mistake about it. Like any people living under the rule of a government, the Chinese have their own horrors of police brutality. In this case, however, they appear to be doing far more than Americans would do in dealing with a killer in uniform. And that's the truth. The officers that beat Kelly Thomas to death walked away scot-free. One guy wants to get his job back, and they're contemplating it. But they can't eat it at Denny's. What do you think, Lance? You think we'll ever see a cop go on death row?
Not in this country.
No?
Yep. Not in this country. I mean, if it hadn't happened already with some of the brutal ones that we've seen, I mean, like you said, it's out of control. I mean, the story that you just read, the other one about the movie theater one, I read that and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. It's, and the stories just keep coming, you know. Here's one out of New York, ready?
Every day you almost see a new one.
Oh, it's more than one a day if you're looking for them.
Right. But you're not on mainstream, that's for sure.
No, shit, no. You know, you don't see any of this on Fox or CNN or MSNBC or nothing. Here's one out of New York. Noah Polanco was a soldier who wanted to protect his country. All that changed one night as he was driving home. Officer Hassan Hamdi pulled Noel over after a traffic stop, or during a traffic stop. The officer claimed that Noel had been driving recklessly. Noel never expected what would happen next. He was shot in the chest and killed by Officer Hamdi, who claims that Noel was reaching under the seat. Officer Hamdi pointed his gun through the open passenger's window of Noel's vehicle and opened fire, executing him in his car. Noel was unarmed and posed no actual threat to the officer. Some claim that Officer Hamdi has issues with being trigger happy. Heartbroken by the loss of her son, Cecilia Reyes sought justice. The city gave her $2.5 million as compensation, but that was not going to bring Noel back. And it does not bring justice to Officer Hamdi, she said last week. I want this officer fired. He doesn't belong on the streets. He doesn't belong with a gun. He doesn't belong walking those streets and hurting another family like he did mine. The court found that Officer Hamdi did not intentionally violate Noel's rights after taking his life, and he was cleared of all wrongdoing. He has a problem, and he needs to be off the streets. He is too dangerous. I'm sorry, that's how I feel, said his mother. He's still been paid since the shooting and has now been assigned to the Emergency Services Unit. Didn't even dock his pay. Shot a soldier to death sitting in his car. And he didn't even lose a day's pay. And they gave him a promotion. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about what his higher-ups think of his actions. Go shoot another one. Officer Hamdi, we just gave you an automatic weapon to do it. Emergency Services Unit.
It allows other cops to see that they can get away with it too, and
yes,
use it as a precedent in a court or anything if it ever gets there.
Yep, that's exactly right. These stories just keep coming, folks. I could go on for another 3 hours, I'll bet you. They don't ever stop. What do you think, Lance? When's the last time you got pulled over?
A couple months ago. Because I ran that red light because I was following too close to the bus.
When that cop got behind you and lit you up, what went through your head? Did you get scared? Did your butt pucker up a little bit?
Not where I was, not in Yorktown, Virginia, which is still, good old boy, network. I knew that, I'd explained that I was too close to the bus and they'd give me a warning and let me out. And then we ended up shooting shit for 10 minutes about the Washington Redskins. So that's how the cops are here. I don't see any of the stories that you're talking about in that area in Yorktown, Virginia. Now that I'm back in Newport News, Virginia, yeah, they're a little bit more. It's a city with quite a bit bigger diversity of racial tension in the city. So, yeah, the cops are a little bit more forceful here. But I hate to say it. As a white 44-year-old male that looks the way I do, driving what I do, I'm not going to raise too many suspicions. So, they don't even give me a second glance mostly.
Yeah, I guess we're lucky, huh?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be, what do they call it? DWB, driving while black. I couldn't imagine, some of the crap that you'd have to go through by getting pulled over. Even the mayor or whoever it was up in New York, when he was black and he got pulled over while driving black and made a big stink about it. But, I think if these stories though seem to be a lot of white people,
this is,
it may be because the ones that they're beating up black people don't make the police brutality part of it. I don't know. But a lot of them seems to be white people that they're beating up, which, just goes to show you they're equal opportunist.
Yeah. The father they beat to death was Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
The second soldier that I talked about was Hispanic.
Well, he was white. Like George Zimmerman, he's white. So,
yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Here's the next one, folks. Woman brutally beaten at traffic stop by sheriff and then charged with assault. Simona Tibu was beaten to within an inch of her life at a routine traffic stop. This Camrose Dennis said that the assault occurred after she was driving home from work and was pulled over by an Alberta sheriff for speeding. She now has launched a formal plea to see charges filed against the officer. Tibu represented herself in a West Joaquin court hearing on January 30th, presenting her case to a judge regarding the April 3rd assault, or the August 3rd assault. What she revealed was disturbing. She states that the violence began before she had even exited her car. The officer violently hit the driver's side window of the vehicle. She said that he continued to hit her window so violently she would not roll it down, as she felt that she might be in danger. The officer became unhinged by her demands. He became violent, Tibu said. She began recording the incident on her cell phone. That's when he ordered her out of the vehicle and began punching her in the groin, breasts, and butt. Tibu screamed, hoping someone would help her, but that just made the officer even more aggressive, she says. When he was smashing her head into the pavement, soaking her in blood. 2 weeks later, the sheriff filed charges against her for resisting arrest and assault. The judge in this case said that Tibu's reasonable grounds to file charges, but higher officials will have to determine whether the case moves forward or if there will be any charges filed, if they'll be dismissed, or if they'll be stayed. An Alberta Justice spokeswoman, Michelle Davio, said, Tibu is petitioning the court to allow the public media to see the evidence from the dash cam footage. She also wants the public to hear the 911 call and witness testimonies. That hearing is scheduled to be placed on April 9th. I have big medical records, she said, lots of pictures, and 3 witnesses came forward to help me. Therefore, I'm confident I will get justice. Why hasn't the dash cam footage been released? Would this settle the case? Watch the video below. I don't think it's going to play well on radio, but I'm going to watch it later. Originally posted on livefreenatural.com. So she started recording some of it right before he started beating her ass. Dash cams. I agree with Jules. Jules said quite a while back, all these cops should have a cam on their body that records everything that they see. They should have cameras in the cars, and those cameras should come on when they turn the car on. You know, they should be live. They should be broadcast live 24 hours a day, or as long as the cop's on duty or whatever. They should all have their own independent camera, every single cop. You don't switch them out on shift, except for maybe the dash cam in the car. But in a couple of cities that they've implemented that policy where all cops wear a camera, incidents of violence with public dropped by a significant margin. I think 70% was what I saw. The technology's there. You know, instead of buying that automatic weapon for your SWAT team member, why don't you go buy a couple of cameras and tell them to refurbish their old gun?
Yeah, they can put it on an NFL referee's hat. What are you talking about?
Right. Exactly, man. You know what, federal government? Instead of giving these sheriff's departments and these local PDs MRAPs that they don't need, why don't you set them up with a bunch of cameras in their cars and on their persons so that you can watch what your statists are doing?
I have a link that was dropped to me, and
Sure.
It kind of expands on this, on where we're all coming from and what we find so appalling about it. New Mexico begins training cops to use more deadly force, not less.
Oh, boy.
The director said he'd rather burn his curriculum than disclose it to the media, but it's out.
Whoopsie.
All new police cadets will be trained to use more deadly force thanks to a new curriculum by Director of State's Law Enforcement Academy. The training emphasis will take place in a cadet program that has been shortened by 6 full weeks.
Oh,
so
yeah. We're not
Turn
teaching
and
you
burn.
guys how to talk to the citizens now. You pull your gun and you shoot the son of a bitch. We'll
Jack
fill out the
Jones,
paperwork later.
a retired Army colonel, was granted sole authority by the LEA over the training curriculum given to all New Mexico new recruits. He says the old model was too restrictive with the use of deadly force. Evil has come to the state of New Mexico. Evil has come to the Southwest.
Isn't that where they were doing the anal probes on the jack for 14 hours? Wasn't that New Mexico, folks? I know everybody in the chat room knows because we rapped about that story for a week or better. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. Evil has come to the United States, Jones said to the Santa Fe New Mexican, which is, I guess, their paper. A former instructor named Philip Gallegos says he was fired by Jones because he refused to teach Cadet Jones controversial philosophy about shooting fleeing vehicles. And the video is the one where they, the black family, the lady, and they shot at him. The 15-year-old kid got out and wrestled with cops.
Yeah. Okay.
They shot at him.
Right.
So that's what they're talking about. This is the thing. Why are you shooting at a car? You should be shooting at the individual that's shooting at you. Another thing, Mr. Jones.
Nobody's shooting at them.
No. That's what this guy, that's why he quit, because he's like, why are you shooting at the car?
Okay. I got you.
You know, and this is why he got fired, because he stood up to him. So another thing that Mr. Jones disagrees with is teaching cadets to go for their baton when an unarmed person goes hands-on with them as an officer. The new director believes that's too restrictive on the use of force. When the journalist filed an official request for a copy of the Academy's new curriculum, Jones refused, saying it would give criminals an edge. I'll burn them before you get them, he told the New Mexican. His training...
We pay for him.
Yeah. His training program, which began January 20th, has been also shortened from 22 weeks down to 16 weeks, leaving many questioning what skills are being dropped from the curriculum while more deadly force is being added. The decision to train cadets to shoot at fleeing vehicles comes at a sensitive time for New Mexicans. In October of last year, a New Mexico state trooper opened fire on a minivan, that's the one I was just telling about, containing a mother and 5 children that was fleeing a traffic stop. A month later, a New Mexico state police officer shot a female driver in the back of the head for trying to evade a traffic stop. These officers were trained under the old standards that were too restrictive for the modern cop.
Shot in the head for a traffic stop.
Yep. So that was a very, very interesting story, which is how many more police departments that we don't know about that have suppressed that manual, if you will. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many more of them are trying to train their cops like this? It would make sense because you sure are seeing it a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. And you run into a lot of these too. And we went into this one with the father that was beaten to death. The cops confiscated the phone and kept it as evidence, quote unquote, in the investigation. But you see a lot of stories like these too. This is the next one on my radar. Mother dragged aground and attacked for filming cop. This is in Miami. Brandy Burning, a Florida mother, is seeking justice after she was pulled over by Officer O'Brien for a traffic stop along I-95 going northbound. She decided to be responsible for her safety and began recording on her cell phone as the officer approached her vehicle. Once he got to her window, she respectfully notified him that she was recording the interaction. I have to tell you, I'm recording our conversations, he said, letting the officer know that his job performance would be documented. That's when the officer unbelievably snapped back, well, I have to tell you that you just committed a felony. The officer can then be heard demanding that Brandy hand over the phone. Give me your phone, he commanded. The brave mom knew what she was doing was right, and she said no. No, get out of my car. I don't know why she'd say get out of my car. Maybe he was trying to get in.
Or his hands were in it or something.
Yeah, what she recorded next is disturbing. The officer can be heard opening up the car door. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. And climbing into her vehicle. According to a report by ABC Local News 10, get off me, Brandy began screaming. That's when the officer literally grabbed her by her arm, pulled her out of the car, and dragged her body to the ground. He then threw her against his police cruiser and forced her wrists behind her back to arrest her. The attack caused scars and cuts to her face and legs, spraining her wrists and multiple areas of skin scraped off both of her legs. The officer then confiscated her phone, took her to jail and locked her in a cell. She spent the night injured in jail for peacefully filming a police officer. He took my personal belongings, put me in jail for something so small, said Brandy, noticeably disturbed by the incident. She has hired an attorney and plans to file a lawsuit for battery, false arrest, and false imprisonment. And there's a video to go along with that one, too. It's 3:49. I reckon we can play that.
Tonight, Bob Norman has the story of a woman pulled over for a simple traffic stop who ends up getting physically injured in a struggle with a deputy and spending the night in jail. And it was all because she hit the record button on her cell phone. This is one you have to see and hear to believe.
Now, remember, folks, the Supreme Court said that we have every right to film the police anywhere in the United States.
Can I follow up on that real quick?
Absolutely.
The courts have also determined that video evidence is only to be used when it helps the police, not hurts them. You remember we did a story about that.
True.
Where that's the precedent that's being set, is that, yeah, video evidence is okay as long as it is going to bust the bad guys. But if you're going to turn it around and bust the cops, it's inadmissible.
I don't know if that's going to stand up, but they're trying to set that as a precedent, yep. Yes.
Right.
That's the sound of single mom Brandy burning during a roadside encounter with a Broward Sheriff's deputy who called for backup to help take burning down. I told you to put your hands behind your back.
I saw them surround my car, had their guns. At least one of them had their gun out. They dragged me out by my arm. You know, I'm just being dragged on the ground, and then they throw me onto the cop car.
Her crime? Driving her car in an HOV lane. But that's not what raised the ire of BSO Lieutenant William O'Brien. It was Burning's cell phone after she decided to audio record the traffic stop on I-95 in North Broward. Here's what her phone captured.
Oh, I forgot to tell you I was recording our conversation.
I'm sorry?
I have to tell you, I forgot to tell you I was recording.
Okay, well, I have to tell you, you just committed a felony.
Rhea, okay.
That's such a lie.
Give me your phone.
No.
Then he gets in my car, in the passenger seat.
Get out of my car.
You are committing a felony. Hand me the phone.
No, I am not.
I know the law better than you, believe me.
I will
hand
go to court.
Phone.
I'm not giving you my phone.
You're going to end up in jail if you don't hand me that phone tonight.
I'm not giving you my phone.
Burning was in the driver's seat with her phone when the deputy opened up the door, climbed in, and tried to take away her phone.
Get off of my key right now. Get off of me. You are breaking the law. Now, I am not getting out of my car. Get off of me.
After the arrest, O'Brien charged Burning with traffic violations and resisting arrest, and she spent the night in jail.
I had a bruise on my cheek, and my leg got cut. I have a scar on my leg, 3 large wound scrapes down my leg, and there was a rock lodged in my leg, and he had sprained my wrist.
All the charges were dropped, but the feelings are still raw.
Touching me, trying to take my personal belongings from me.
Lying to your face.
For something so small.
Attorneys Eric Rudenberg and Mike Glasser are representing Burning and have notified BSO in writing of a planned lawsuit.
That there was a battery that occurred, false arrest, false imprisonment.
And it's not the first time for BSO. Former Deputy Paul Pletcher now faces criminal charges after allegedly smashing a woman's phone for videotaping him. While Florida is a 2-party consent state when recording others, the courts have upheld the public's right to record cops on the job.
He shouldn't have had any concern about what she was doing with her cell phone as long as it wasn't impeding his ability to write the citation, give her the citation, and send her on her way.
BSO refused comment on this case, but did send me an internal bulletin from July informing deputies that citizens can legally record them.
We should be able to tape record them.
BSO now has 6 weeks to respond to Burning's notice of a lawsuit, and we'll let you know all the key developments in this case. I'm Bob Norman, Local 10 News.
In case you were wondering, after all the talk of her committing a felony, the lieutenant never even charged Bernie with making an unlawful recording.
Imagine that, huh?
Imagine that.
All charges dropped because he knew he screwed up.
Or his superiors did when he got in.
He lied straight to her face, man, telling her that she was committing a felony.
Yeah.
We do have a caller called in, area code 330. Thanks for calling. What do you got? Throw in your 2 cents worth. Hello? Area code 330. Going once.
Mute's probably on mic, or mic's on mute like mine was.
Could be. They got to be hearing me, though, yeah? All right, I'll let you hang out for just a minute. If you don't got nothing to say, I'm going to drop you. 330. They called 6 times to the show, too, I think. Is that Hawk? Oh, they dropped themselves. All righty. Maybe they're having phone trouble. Call back. If you're having phone trouble, call back. I'll add you back into the call. No problem. 718-717-8296. If anybody else wants to call in and give you 2 cents worth about this stuff, I'd really like to know what you people in the chat room think about this. I mean, I'm reading some of the comments here and there, but I'm kind of skipping around on these websites and not really paying a whole lot of attention. But I'd really like to know what you people think. 718-717-8296. Have you had a run-in with a cop? Have you been intimidated by one? Have you had them try to intimidate you and you handed them their ass? That'd be a really nice story to hear. 718-717-8296 or ucy.tv. Lance?
Yeah?
Talk, brother. Talk. This radio, man.
You know, the stories are just so flabbergasting. I learned one time, too, that by getting pulled over, and I don't know if I should tell this story, but I'm going to go ahead and tell this story. When I was 17 years old, I used to take acid way back in the day.
Oh, my God! Damn, air that dirty laundry, boy. Woo! Anyway, go ahead.
3 of my friends and me were riding around in the car because you could always see some great things when you were riding around. And we saw 2 cops parked in the library parking lot. So we said, man, wouldn't it be cool to look at the blue lights while we're tripping? So I rode around those cops 10 times in a little circle to get them to pull me over. Just riding around to see if they would pull me over. Sure enough, they pulled me over. But I was crazy.
You are a genius. Or at least you were back then, dude. That was epic.
So I got both of them to put on the lights, and we're just tripping out at them because they're so pretty. And the cop walks up the car and it's like, what you doing? I said, just riding around. You know, I knew he couldn't do anything. He could do nothing to us because we didn't do anything. We were just riding around. And he looked down. So, I mean, we bantered back and forth for a little while, being a smart ass 17-year-old teenager.
That guy couldn't see the back of your skull through your pupils?
Yeah, probably, because there is no pupils when you're, even at night, you know, your pupils are solid black. But, you know, this was back in 1987. Wow. But he looked down on the floorboard and saw a screwdriver sitting on the floorboard. And
that's theft tools.
There you go. That's a theft tool. And he pulled me out of the car and took me down to the station.
Oh no.
Over the screwdriver. And then when I got down there, I raised a bunch of crap, saying, you know, this is unconstitutional. This is against my rights and everything else. And, you know, how are you going to call a screwdriver with no, evidence that there was any break-ins nearby? So they let me go. But
did they keep the screwdriver?
No, they gave it back. But I mean, I learned a lesson that night that, you know, they can, just about find any reason that they want to harass you if they want.
Yeah.
And that was even way back then.
A buddy of mine in high school had a car. That's how you had to start his car, because the key was like broken off, like a little bitty tiny piece of the key was broken off down in the ignition. So you just had to stick a screwdriver in there and crank it around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you how many times he got pulled over for a stolen car. You know, they think he stole it. Like, no, man, it's mine, dude. This just broke off. And here's the other key. Here's the other half of the key. It's still my key ring, you knob. I just got to use this to start my car. But he gets pulled over all the time. He got pulled over all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because he'd have to drive around with that screwdriver hanging outside the column.
You can get pulled for an air freshener hanging from your mirror.
Oh, yeah, if they want to be dicks.
Yes, so, you know, if you want to put yourself
if your tint's too dark.
Exactly. Well, not here. But if you want to totally try to remove yourself from all, you know, aspects of police brutality, you know, number one rule is probably don't be the other party.
Right. Yeah. So we got about a half hour left in the show. Let's see. Where do I want to go? Oh, here's the one about the deaf guy in the.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Did you hear about that one?
I love that one. Well, I didn't love it, but I was just like,
this is a get your attention one.
Yes.
Cop burns the body of an innocent deaf man with taser and strangles him. This is out of Los Angeles. God, you people in California need to wake the F up. Serious business. This is just, holy smokes. Clueless Hawthorne police beat and tasered a deaf man as he signaled to them that he was deaf and his friend had loaned him the snowboard that he was carrying, the man claims in court. In a federal complaint for violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act, Jonathan Meister claims the attack could have been avoided had Hawthorne trained its police officers to communicate with the deaf and hard of hearing. Officers confronted him on February 13th outside a friend's home as he picked up a snowboard and winter clothes for a trip to Utah, Meister says in the lawsuit. Meister says he used hand gestures to try to tell the police he's deaf and was lawfully at the home. The cops were having none of it. They shot taser darts into Mr. Meister, administered a number of painful electric shocks, struck him with fists and feet, and forcibly took him to the ground. Officers kicked and punched him in the back of the stomach, in the stomach, choked and tasered him, delivering punishing shocks and intentionally burning his flesh, Meister claims. He says the four defendant officers took part in the attack: Jeffrey Salmon, Jeffrey Steele, Erica Bristow, and Mark Holtgren. Erica, good job, girl. Get in on the beatings while you can. Must be training him to be tough. After he was knocked unconscious and taken to the hospital, he was cited for assaulting the officers and released, but charges were dropped. Imagine that. The incident occurred in a substantial part because the HPD, Hawthorne PD, does not provide its officers with training and resources to serve people who are deaf or hard of hearing, including those who communicate primarily through the use of sign language. Meister seeks statutory, treble, and punitive damages for violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Rehabilitation Act and the civil rights violations. Also named as defendants are the City of Hawthorne, its police department, and Chief Robert Fager. Meister is represented by John Burton of Pasadena, California. Hawthorne PP 85,000 is part of Greater Los Angeles between Manhattan Beach and Compton. Numerous similar lawsuits have been filed across the country in which police beat and arrest diabetics suffering from insulin shock, believing or claiming to believe that they were drunk. We've all heard several stories of that. This was just an unbelievable. Deaf guy picking up some equipment to go on vacation, and he gets beaten down by the cops. You know.
Yeah, what wasn't mentioned in that story, which I read in the other story, is the whole reason that they were there is because the neighbor saw him and called 911 and said there's an active break-in going on.
Nosy neighbor. Trying to be a little Johnny on the spot do-gooder. Just got an innocent man beaten by the cops. He's probably lucky he's alive, to be honest with you. You know?
Well, it's like the one where that lady got in the wreck and ran up to the door to have them call 911, and then the people did call 911, said, hey, there's a crazy person at my door, and then she got killed.
No, that was a high school football player down in Florida, Texas A&M. Florida A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was black. I guarantee you that's why he got killed. Because he was black, he was bloody, and he was walking toward a cop. And that cop freaked the F out and shot him dead. And all he needed was help because he'd been in a severe accident and he was injured.
But a misplaced call to 911 got 2 innocent people killed in those instances.
Unbelievable, man. And they just keep coming. I'd hate to be one of the admins on this website, man, trying to keep up with all this. That would just be unbelievably hard to read all these stories and, you know, cut them down and so they can fit on your page and try to pick through what's pertinent and what's not pertinent. But you have to go through all these stories. You have to read all these stories of all this violence. I mean, we only catch 1 or 2 a day, you know. Maybe it might be a light week and you only get 5. But to admin this website and to read all this on a daily basis, hats off to you, whoever you are. Oh, here's one. Cop on cop. Listen to this one. This is not really police violence, but this is what these people have to deal with. And I think this one cop, I don't know, they might halfway be awake. This is out of Florida. Officer Watts of the Florida Highway Patrol has filed a lawsuit against over 100 other officers for harassing her to the point of putting her in life-threatening situations. It began one night when Watts noticed a vehicle speeding and swerving dangerously on the road as if the driver was drunk. Turns out the vehicle was a police cruiser. The officer inside was Fausto Lopez from Miami. When Watts attempted to pull him over, she was led on a blazing 120-mile-an-hour chase for nearly 10 minutes. Talk about putting people in danger. Finally, Lopez pulled over. To his surprise, Officer Watts instructed him to exit his vehicle, at which point she disarmed him and placed him under arrest. Officer Watts did her job by stopping him and arresting him just like she would anyone else, because cops are citizens too. I added that last part, by the way. Lopez was then fired. Officer Watts, however, soon found herself the victim of a severe stalking and threats and harassment. It began with calls to her home from unknown numbers making threats to her. Then multiple police cruisers began lurking in front of her home at night. Watts then found that her personal information was accessed by over 80 officers from 25 different jurisdictions in 3 months, with over 200 views on her profile. The stalking and threats became so intense that officers started to experience physical stress when performing basic activities such as opening her mailbox, starting her ignition, or when being followed by law enforcement for no apparent reason. According to the Associated Press, the various departments involved in the matter have asked the judge to throw out the lawsuit. Meanwhile, Officer Watts is still... Go ahead.
Oh, no, keep going.
Meanwhile, Officer Watts is still working for Florida Highway Patrol. She's been assigned duties in a different county in an attempt to ensure her safety. We often hear that there are no longer any good cops. Perhaps this is why. When the good cops are consistent and perform their duties, not letting other officers get away with crimes for which the citizens are punished, They are then intimidated or framed or killed. The phrase "a few bad apples" is exactly the reverse in this situation. When it comes to police misconduct, the reality is more surprising. There exists a few good apples in an otherwise abusive and corrupt institution. That's exactly the way I feel. Mm-hmm. I could have wrote that. These good apples are quickly dealt with. And that's the truth. They either shut up and fall in line, or they get harassed out or quit. And then what? You know? When you get a good cop, tries to open their mouth and say something, this happens. They get harassed. Get a good cop that quits the department, tries to speak out a little bit, they trump up some kind of charge against them. Or maybe they get in a really bad car wreck. Something like that, you know. Maybe they get randomly shot by some gangbanger, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a particularly disturbing story, and it's what I talked about a little while ago when I said, how many of them go in good, and then they're either strong-armed into being a bad cop, or if they try to stay the course, then they're just harassed beyond all, tolerance levels.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look, my computer just locked up. Not really. I can't get to this one page, though. I can't get back. Think somebody's DDoSing me? Nah. Anyway, while we wait for that to load, I can't believe nobody called into the show. We had one kind of try. We had one call kind of try, but didn't say nothing, and then hung up.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't mean to him, was I?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Well, we couldn't hear. So.
No, he didn't say nothing.
We can't hear. We can't hear him.
Right.
I do have a good positive way in the last, 12 minutes or so.
Sure.
Well, I'll wait till you do another story and we'll end it with that.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you what, it's been some, mind-blowing stories where you're just like,
yeah,
you got to wonder, is it happening everywhere in the world?
Well, it's happening in Duluth, Iowa. The next one I got's out of Duluth, but go ahead.
Oh, there you go. No, yeah, keep go then. Yeah.
Yeah. This is another, I don't think it's as severe as Kelly Thomas, but this is another not guilty cop found not guilty after beating man in wheelchair. Guy's in a wheelchair, y'all. He's in a wheelchair, for Christ's sake. Duluth. We all know where Duluth is, right? Officer Jupy has been found not guilty of all charges in connection to a video showing him attacking a citizen in a wheelchair. The 50-year-old citizen, Anthony Jackson, was rolled into a detox facility by police. A staff member of the facility can be heard instructing Anthony that he was to surrender his jacket. Being unable to walk normally, Anthony sarcastically asked, "Do you want me to throw it at you?" Whoops. The staff member also responded with sarcasm. "Do it and see what happens." And then, as instructed, instructed Anthony just to leave the jacket on the chair, Anthony started taking the jacket off. That's when Officer Jupy can be seen grabbing his arms and twisting it back. Immediately, Anthony said, "Hey, you can't do that," and weakly swatted up at the officer to defend himself. That's when Officer Jupy began pounding on his face. Anthony's head can be seen snapping back after Officer Jupy punched him the first time. But that wasn't enough. Jupy followed with a combination of punches until Anthony appeared to go limp. The video then shows Jupy grabbing Anthony by the throat and pulling him out of the wheelchair. As Anthony's limp body hit the ground, Officer Juppy can be seen kneeing him in the torso. Oh, man. The staff member was visibly shocked by the officer's violence and said, "Dude!" The officer replied to the staff member, "Stand back or I'll arrest you. You think people in wheelchairs can't assault people?" Despite beating a man who was obviously vulnerable and defenseless, Officer Juppy has been found not guilty of all charges, according to a report by the Free Thought Project. Those people are awesome. You ought to check them out. He originally faced charges for 5th-degree assault and disorderly conduct. There's a video to go along with it, but I'm pretty sure, it's just them beating the crap out of him in that office, so I'm sure that's not going to play well on radio. But hey, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, people. I am going to drop this filmingcops.com link. It's pretty easy to type that in, but I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat for everybody so you guys can go check out every one of these stories that I covered tonight. They're all on this site, along with hundreds and hundreds more. It is disgusting that a site like this even has to be made. It is disgusting that a site like this has this many articles on it. And it boggles my mind that you don't hear about this every single day on the news. On the mainstream news.
Exactly. You hear it on the local news, obviously, because those were some local stories that you
in the town where it happened.
Of.
Sure,
right, but
sure.
That's it.
Where's John Stossel? John Stossel needs to get a hold of these assholes.
Oh, they're not going to give the go ahead to talk about that on.
No.
On.
Rupert Murdoch's not going to give the thumbs up on that one. No, you can't talk about the status Bulldogs.
Yep.
Nope. They got to protect our money and gold. Nope. Can't talk about them.
Exactly.
It's our money. The guns they carry, unless they buy their own personal firearm, are issued by the state or by the city, municipality, whatever. That's our money too. The cars they drive, that's our money. The computers they talk about, they chat on and play their fucking card games. Oh man, I dropped an F-bomb. Man.
Oh.
Almost made it too, dude.
Almost made it.
Pooey. Anyway, those belong to us. The uniform belongs to us. The holsters belong to us. The ammunition belongs to us. The building that they get all their orders given from, that belongs to us. The microphone, it belongs to us. The radio tower belongs to us. Everything that these cops do, we pay for. When they pull you over and write you a huge ass ticket for speeding, you paid them to do that. So they got you twice. When they shoot your neighbor's dog, you paid them to do that. When they raid your cousin's home and tase him in front of his kids and wife and drag him off to jail because they got the wrong address. He was right next door to the house they were supposed to raid. You paid them to do that.
Yeah, the old saying, if you're not a criminal, you don't have anything to worry about, doesn't apply anymore.
No. If you're breathing and a cop's behind you, you got something to worry about. hope everybody in chat got something out of tonight's program. Kind of disappointed nobody called. I really wanted to get some of your input. I really wanted to know what you think about this, because I think it's pretty important. And I think we're going to be touching on this subject quite a bit over the next year. Maybe a once a month type of thing. Get you guys all caught up on how many innocent people have been beaten to death since the last show. I'm going to do it till it stops. It's got to stop. I agree with Coda. He just put something in the room. Coda, that's a very good point. These cops should pray that this country doesn't collapse, because if it does, there's going to be a lot of revenge doled out.
Be outnumbered.
Yeah. You guys are already outnumbered. You just don't know it yet. You're too stupid to realize it.
Right.
I think they know. Where was that video we saw where they were throwing hurtling bottles at the car?
Oakland.
Oakland, California. Oakland, California. They know in Oakland. They know not to get out of the squad cars in Oakland.
Yep.
They have targets on their backs in Oakland. It's gang members, you know, bunch of thugs took over that city. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. You people need to speak up about this one.
Especially if you see it.
I think some protests need to occur in some of these cities where it's happening often. I think some protests need to go on in Moore, Oklahoma for sure. You beat an innocent man to death for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Throw something out there, man.
I got nothing else to add to that. I mean, we've covered the gamut on it. And the sad thing is, by Friday, there will be, you could dedicate a whole hour show
to the news story.
Just to news stories between now and Friday.
I know. It's just ridiculous, man. We still got 8 minutes. I guess I'm going to have to throw one more in.
Or I could tell you a 12-point pledge to solve life's biggest problems.
You think you'll take 8 minutes?
It'll take me until we get out of the show here.
Throw it out there.
You know Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs.
Oh, yeah, I love that guy, man. He's great. He's great.
He is. He is really good. And he's got a sweat pledge with his skill and work ethics aren't taboo. And I was reading this, and I'm like, you know what? If everybody would subscribe to this, wouldn't it be a whole lot better place? I believe that I have won the greatest lottery of all time. I'm alive. I walk the earth. I live in America. Above all things, I'm grateful. Number 2, I believe that I am entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nothing more. I also understand that happiness and the pursuit of happiness are not the same thing. We're not entitled to happiness, but we're entitled to work as hard as we can to achieve it. I believe there is no such thing as a bad job. I believe that all jobs are opportunities, and it's up to me to make the best of them. I do not follow my passion. I bring it with me. I believe that any job can be done with passion and enthusiasm. In other words, our jobs don't define us. We define what kind of worker we are in any given profession. I deplore debt and do all I can to avoid it. I would rather live in a tent and eat beans than borrow money to pay for a lifestyle I cannot afford. How many people can say that? Imagine the problems that would be solved if everyone felt that way, including Uncle Sam. I believe that my safety is my responsibility. I understand that being in compliance does not necessarily mean I'm out of danger. My add-on would be get a gun.
Right.
I believe the best way to distinguish myself at work is to show up early, Stay late, cheerfully volunteer for every crappy task there is. That is, work your ass off, burn the midnight oil, and all that good stuff. Don't look for shortcuts on the path to success. I believe the most annoying sounds in the world are whining and complaining. I will never make them. If I'm unhappy in my work, I will either find a new job or find a way to be happy. I believe that my education is my responsibility and absolutely critical to my success. I am resolved to learn as much as I can from whatever source is available to me. I'll never stop learning, and I understand that library cards are free. I believe that I am a product of my choices, not my circumstances. I'll never blame anyone for my shortcomings or the challenges I face, and I'll never accept the credit for something I didn't do. Like anybody would do that. The truth is, in the game of life, we've all been dealt different hands, but it's up to us what we make of them. I understand the world is not fair, and I'm okay with that. I do not resent the success of others. Looking to the Joneses doesn't help. If we can turn that resentment into inspiration, we'll be much better for it. Lastly, I believe all people are created equal. I also believe that all people make choices. Some people choose to be lazy. Some people choose to sleep in. I choose to work my ass off. Those are 12 things that if everybody looked at, they make a lot of sense. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I love Mike Rowe. That guy's super, super fine. I
do. And, you know, I love the Dirty Job show because those people, I mean, did jobs. And if you looked at a lot of the people that helped him, and yeah, they were on TV and everything else, but they were good at it. And a lot of them looked like they enjoyed doing some of those dirty jobs.
Hell yeah. Because some of the crappiest jobs pay the best, man.
And your job doesn't define you. And that's
right.
You know,
exactly. And everything's got to get done, you know, from shoveling shit to, polishing gold. It's all got to get done. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you know, what's the point? I like to do it all myself though, personally. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to get back into no, I'm not going to call somebody to have that done. I'm going to do it myself. And if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to learn how. I'm fixing to learn, you know. Speaking of learning, I got the mast in the ground today.
Really?
Yep, for the solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
Got the turbine taken down off the roof of the barn, getting ready to put it up on its push pole out in the middle of the open so it can work properly. It's all going to come together. Hopefully it's going to be all put together and wired up by the end of the week. I'm going to start making the video tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
Yep.
Still waiting for the boat one, but yeah, I'll take that one too.
Yeah. The boat one will come later on. Actually, next Tuesday, it's supposed to be almost 70 degrees here.
Aye, aye, aye.
Mm-hmm. We were supposed to get some thunderstorms through here this evening, but I think they petered out or they went south, something like that. It's good. I didn't want to.
Might be able to hear some crickets or something here in next coming days.
I don't think. Well, there was some flies and stuff buzzing around today. There was actually some bugs out zipping around, so I didn't even give a listen for crickets tonight. That would have been kind of cool. It got cold though. I mean, it cooled off. It's in the 50s.
True.
So anyway, we're down to the last minute. Well, about 35 seconds. Love and peace, everybody. I know I was kind of ranty tonight, but bad cops pissed me off. Stay tuned. Nick's coming up next with Anti-Media Radio. We'll see you on Friday. Thanks, Lance, my brother.
Yep. Have a good evening, buddy.
Hey, I'm going to call you back here in just a minute. We'll get that microphone figured out.
All right.
See you, folks. UCY.TV, the only place to be.